Good day, Kennedale. This is Jeff Nevarez with the Kennedale News, and we're here with another coffee chat for 2023, and a little unusual year for our local elections. Out of the 7 that were up, only 2 places between the Kennedale ISD and the city election are even up for election. One of them is place 1, which is done by Rocky Gilly and Chris Evans, and the other one is place 5 with my guest today, James, and myself, the host. So I'm very gracious that James is allowing me to host this coffee chat with him and really get down to the nitty gritty of what we feel and what we feel like is best for the city and what the future of the city is going to look like. But it's just a coffee chat, and him and I chat all the time, believe it or not, about city stuff. So, James, why don't you just give yourself a little introduction?
All right. Hi, Kendall. Again, my name is James. I am the current seat holder for Place 5 on City Council. Um, Over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of good things, and I am seeking re-election against my opponent here and running mate, or not running mate, but my
Oh, that
opponent,
would have been cool.
Mr. Nevarez of Kennedale. There you go. But yeah, that's basically who I am. Um, and Yeah, let's get on the road.
All right, for those of you who don't know, James won his last election 2 years ago in a runoff, and kicked his opponent's butt in the runoff. So he's been in the seats for 2 years, and a little bit about him that I know too. He actually in his first year took a couple college courses just in poli-sci stuff, just to kind of understand how to better the city. So I want to just go ahead and give him props for that. A lot of people don't know that about you. That was one thing you told me a while back.
No, they don't.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that, but
No college degree, but I did take.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
more than
no college
most
degree,
people on
but I
that
did take the courses.
council, James. Come on, yeah, I mean, that's stepping above and beyond. I want to give you
True.
props on that for sure. So, if you haven't seen our coffee chat
Thank
from
you.
a couple of years ago, guys, it's pretty simple. James has submitted some questions to me. I give him the option to pick the topics first. I pick the next 3 topics, and they're just questions to each other, and in general that we could talk about the things that matter most to us, and just have a kind of just a chat and back and forth about it. What we're gonna do and what we decide. It's your question on me, right, James? That's what we're doing first. Is that how we did the
That's
math? That was
what
the
we're doing.
math. Okay.
That's how we did it.
All right, you ready? Let me go.
I am ready.
We got something to drink, and here we go. So the question that you gave to me, which is, what's more important for our city right now, building new homes and commercial space, or rehabilitating, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? And it's all caps. And that's the question you gave to me. So
Yeah,
to answer this question, it's very simple for me.
I didn't realize.
For sure. And you know a little bit about this when you took your courses. There's an actual science with city planning. I mean, we've been building cities for thousands of years, and the way that cities have grown and
Yeah.
overgrown, we just know the science behind it. So, in our community and what we have, we still have a lot of land that needs to be developed. So we should not be looking at gerrymandering is the general term for it, which is taking old neighborhoods, revitalizing them, right? Not yet, at least. Not until we get to like an 80-85% capacity, to where that last kind of 15 or 20% of the holdouts, they want to keep their large plots and their large lands out there. So when we can better utilize the space first, then we definitely need to look at old neighborhoods like around Delaney. But that doesn't mean that's even going to be in my lifetime. Well, I'm a little young. You and I are a little young, so it might be in our later lifetime.
Yeah.
If we get there, just on the projection of population growth in the next 10 years, that's possible. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have laws on the books that says, hey, like you can't have grass that high, or you need to have a fresh painted coat. Coat of paint. So there's not, and that's why we have codes. And so we can go across the Parkway and say, hey, like it looks like trash. I mean, we try to do that with the junkyard up front years and years ago. It didn't really work very well. But hey, we tried. But so we can do that, and we can approach city as a city can approach them very politely and see if they can just work something out. And we have done that before with certain properties. We also have a BOA, BBB, which I was a chairman on, and they, the city can come and bring demolition requests to them. And we've done one in my 10 years that I served that board. But we did it, and they took, it was 2. I'm sorry, there was 2. And so we could do things like that. But with the future growth, and with the new freeway coming on and the traffic that I think we're getting down the Parkway, I think that free market will do it, and it's already happening. just in the last 3 years, 4 years, that Parkway has like 3 or 4 new buildings, and 2 of the buildings being revitalized, and one's being revitalized right now, which is next to the Burger Box, and that's a very old building. And so, free market wise, if people want to invest and they can see the opportunity, and some of these people do, a new tire store just opened up over there. That's the owner of the Zoom Auto over here off of Corey and 287. He opened up that new tire shop. So people do
Yeah.
see the potential there of the traffic that's coming to experience a new business, and that should be our focus. I mean, even the new pizza place just opened up a daiquiri store, so they see the potential in the future. So that, to me, the free market will do it. But one day, when we're full, to answer your question, yes, we do need to revitalize our older neighborhoods. Old Town will need to be redone, and then the area around Delaney would probably be the next one, and just some of the pickup places like the old trailer parks off of 287, that kind of thing. But there you go.
Okay.
That was my answer to you.
All right. And your question to me.
What? You got to
Go
answer
ahead.
your own question.
Oh, I have to answer my
Yeah,
question.
that's the whole point. So you can say what's important to you with you. There you
Uh, the most important thing to me is to keep Kennedale Kennedale. And to be quite honest with you, what I mean by saying that, and I'm going to go ahead and, use a term that a wonderful lady said at a council meeting, which I still to this day remember. It was almost 2 years ago. And she says, "Don't Arlington my Kennedale."
go.
And
We see that on Kindle new
with,
posts all the time.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
with Kennedale being only 6.65 square miles, and other cities around us, being as large as they are, such as Mansfield, Arlington, Fort Worth. Our next closest city to us, which is our next door neighbor, is Forest Hill, and they're only 4.5 square miles. But look at everything that they have. Most of it's congested along, the highways. When you go into the interior of the city, you really don't see that much. Um, so that's what's going on there. So I think that the closer we get to highways is where we need to actually start looking at, you know, building up, or getting hotels, or you know getting those unfortunate fast food restaurants with, or a nice sit down eatery along the highway. But we don't have that much highway real estate, so where is all that traffic going to go? Into the interior. And we do actually sit on an older highway, business 287, which is known as Kennedale Parkway. So when it comes to Kennedale Parkway, I think a revitalization program would work. I think that especially down towards the southern end of the city, and towards the northern end, and somewhere in between, the interior is already congested enough. We're done along the Parkway, as I can see it right now. Those buildings have been there for years. They're going to continue to be there. They're still businesses. They still operate. But along the frontage roads, along the very front where QT is, Burger King, Popeyes, all that in the front, I think we need to do a revitalization program there, maybe, if possible, and then start towards down at the southern end of the city, where there's a lot of traffic down there going towards Mansfield, that area. I think we need to look at those areas and say, what can we do to bring traffic from Mansfield into Kennedale? And what can we do to grab that traffic off the interstates and bring them into Kennedale as well? Kind of meet in the middle. And they might have to come down Kennedale Parkway to go all the way to, 20, or they might, want to see what's in Kennedale. Let's go down a little bit further. And that's where we get our mom and pop shops. And that's where we get our small businesses. And that's where we start to actually look and see, hey, this is okay. This is good. Start to generate those tax dollars and everything like that. So we can look at revitalization. There's nothing wrong with looking at it now. I'm not saying that it's needed now, but looking at it now and actually planning for the future, I think would be very good for us, to see what the future might hold, to see where we can go in the future. As of I seeing it right now, we don't need to be building any new buildings as of this moment. We don't, 15, 20 years down the road, maybe I can see it. Right now, I don't see it. I don't see the need for it. unless it's again at the southern end of the city or if it's at the very beginning of the city. Because the more you come in, the more it gets more congested with residential, the more, mom and pop shops, the more small businesses we have. And we need to support those small businesses for as long as they are in Canada.
Okay. All right. So the next question is to you. What are your plans for future development and how can we improve the image for developers to want to develop what we want as a city? And you kind of just touched base on that, but you can expand on that if you want.
I I did touch base on it a little bit. So what we've done and what we've already actually started to do was create a new UDC.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying, throw the other one out and start from scratch because that would just be a nightmare. But we need to improve on what we already have. And by saying that, for NV and UV zoned areas, and for those of you who don't know what UV and NV is, those are urban zoning and I'm sorry, urban village and neighborhood village zoning districts. Basically, urban village and neighborhood village, those are mixed use developments that are used to live, work, and do everything around it. It's a walkable area, it's walkable space where they have shops where and like loft apartments on top,
Mhm.
something of like what Roanoke has already done. And when you talk about Roanoke and when you see everything that they've already done, I think that that might work in a city like Kennedale. Because if you look at Roanoke's demographic and then you look at our demographic, you look how smaller the cities are. They don't have a highway near them either. They have 377, which literally runs right through their city. So that would be good as well. But to improve on what we've already done, what our UDC is already saying is for consensus says the drop density for residential houses from 16 from I'm sorry, not residential, but from multifamily and townhome from 16 units per acre to 8 for multifamily and townhome districts. Increase the sporadical requirements for R4 from 5,000 to 72 from 5,000 to 7,250 square feet. Increase the setbacks from where they are now, which is literally zero for those types of homes, from 10 to 15. Decrease multifamily and townhome heights from 3 stories down to 2, so that it keeps in line with what the vision of Kennedale is, and that's wide open spaces.
Mhm.
Um, you know, keep them at a max height of like maybe 30 feet. Site plan approvals, because in the past, Kennedale has become the home of the bait and switch. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth from what I've seen. Now, basically, where a developer comes in, they promise this big, massive, you know, wonderful thing that's going to happen where we're going to have businesses, we're going to have shopping, we're going to have retail, and it's all going to be right there on the Parkway. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. And then we get apartments, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with apartments, but it's not what we were promised. So, and I hate to use that word promise because it was just a proposal.
Mhm.
Um,
It was just a proposal.
so for
But
phase
it would have been
development,
cool. It would have been
yeah, it
cool.
was just a proposal. It would have been nice. But for phase developments like NV and UV developments that include phases, I would be in favor of mixed use and commercial phase being developed as the first initial phase to show that they are serious. And then that the first phase of the component of the development, whereas then single family, two family, multifamily, townhouse phases would be developed after the substantial completion of the first mixed use or commercial phase of it. For NV and UV without phases, basically, uh, no, there's no phase one, there's no phase two, there's no phase three, and then you'll have all of it right here. But for those types of things, for the mixed use and commercial component shall be constructed at the same time, so that you could see it coming up and you could see, okay, we're getting what we actually asked for. And these developers who are coming in right now, they just want to build homes, they want to build
Mhm.
multifamily, they want to build townhomes, they don't want to do any businesses, they don't want to do commercial, they don't want to do any of it,
Mhm.
even though we do have some space for it. So that's what I would like to see. um, that's what I would like to see that we go forward with. That's when it comes to developers coming in here and being more friendly to them, saying, hey, look, this is what we have. This is the land we have. This is what we would like. You're a developer. You have the plan. It's already right here. let's not have it be just a proposal. Let's actually make it come to fruition. How can we help you? Do you need a 380 agreement? Do you need, do you need, I hate to say it, tax abatements for like maybe 1 or 2 years to get you solvent? There are a number of things that the city can do to help. I don't like tax abatements because it's like corporate welfare, but it is something that we can use to lure a developer in.
Sure.
Um, so those are just some things that we can do.
Okay. And in my response to my own question and you, I never had a problem with changing the UDC 430, 50, I don't remember, building codes. That's a little ridiculous.
It's
In
a
a
lot of
city
pages.
small. It is. And I've always been a proponent for pretty much all my political life of the divide by two. If I ever was, in Congress, I'd go in there and divide all the laws by two. It's just, it would never happen. But that's my mentality behind it. So I have no problem with changing UDCs. Here's my biggest issue. It was the image. When we voted for that moratorium a few months ago, just the whisper, even talking about that, sent a ripple through the development of all developers in this area. Now, there's a
It
few
did.
of us, especially with me, who've been working a long time, 10, 12 years now for me, talking to developers, talking up Kennedale, it's a great town, getting the ones that are interested to do business. We always hear the same thing. You need more rooftops. Then we could justify making the build, shop space, because then these businesses will survive. And since we've increased our rooftops around here, the businesses at Town Center have now blossomed where we're full and they're looking at phase 5 and phase 6. So we know it works. My issue is when we do the moratorium, we even just whisper it, the good developers are saying, and I'll tell you exactly what one told me yesterday. He goes, Jeff, I have a good plan for Kennedale, and he's already been burned once by Kennedale just 2 years ago. He's like, but I won't come right now in the state of what it is. And so what you're doing is we're trying to tell businessmen what to do with their business and how they should spend their money. And so that's where the UDC comes in, right? And that's where the master plan comes in. What that does is it gets the city out of private property owners' business and private business owners' business. But we as a city do have a say about what goes on around here, right? We don't want a city full of apartments, right? We don't want an apartment here, apartment there, like Mansfield by the hospital. We don't want that. We know it's not going to fit here. So we can say, look, we don't want these things. We want these types of things. Here are the rules. Now it's back to the citizens and the private property owners and the business owners, where it should be, especially in a free state like Texas. And so what's going on though is we have these rules, and y'all don't like it, and you're voting against it. These rules, and you should be voting for them. If you don't like the rules, change them. And that's what you guys are doing, shutting down all tier 3, the 3 and 4 zones, R4, sorry, R3, R4, just shutting that out with an indefinite date. That's scary in itself. We shouldn't have never done that. Now I understand about the sewers, and you got my text about the long stories about sewers. That's a 10-year-old story there, longer than what council's claiming. And something we've been trying to fix for decades. It's just super expensive. It's like $200 million. It's ridiculous. But that's why we needed the growth. Impact fees will help us fix these infrastructures and bring new piping and bring new sewers and bring new streets in the areas we develop. And you and I agreed that the south side, where the TIF, I'm pretty much the only one that's been screaming this TIF that we have in our area that we're not utilizing in the corner. We could be utilizing it. We just shut down a development, a beautiful development in that TIF area. That was the whole purpose of that TIF, and we're halfway through it, that 25 years now. We're wasting our money. And so for me, the focus is the south side. There is some cool things happening just outside of Mansfield on our border there that could increase that area and make that a potential for me, an entertainment district. And you and I talked about this last year. I think we should embrace the racetracks right there, encourage business owners. And I've talked to several race car people out there who are businesses owners around here. How would you like this? Would you guys play ball? Would you be the ones to develop businesses down there? And they're all interested. So we can focus on that south side, but we cannot go against our own rules. We need to fix that, like you're talking about. We should follow them until we fix it. And the moratorium, you guys have no idea. The developers talk to other developers in the area, and right now we have such a bad reputation, and we need to fix that. We need to fix this UDC as fast as possible, get the moratorium off as fast as possible, and go now. Everybody come, because you're not going to get the good developers right now. You're only going to get the developers that you were talking about, which is the false promises or the bait and switch developers, the medium developers is what I call Anybody else who's a good developer
So if I
is not going to be around right now. Go ahead. You can respond.
so if I may kind of, rebut that.
Mhm.
Let me go ahead and just kind of give her, about a 30-second or a minute
Yeah,
rebuttal.
go ahead.
So I know the property that you're talking about was not is not it's called Nice Landing. And I know that property that you were talking about. If you actually look at the proposal, which I did post on my Facebook page, and if you actually go over there to where Knights Landing is being built, it's not the same thing that we were going to get. It's all apartments, it's townhomes. Knights Landing was in Kennedale was supposed to be 300 homes set over 4 phases. So to what they proposed to Arlington and what they proposed to us were two totally different things. So, and what they're getting now is kind of buyer's remorse, because I've heard Arlington now saying, this is not what we asked for, this is not what we wanted. And that's when the developer, as you said, well, it's a private business owner, they're able to do what they want. Wrong.
Which
Sorry.
property are you
No,
talking about?
not going to happen.
Which part? You're talking about the apartment complex up by
Knights
Kroger?
Landing is,
I don't know what it's called. So
yeah.
yeah, that's not the
Is that what
property
we're
I'm talking
talking
about.
about? Yeah,
That's
it's
not the
called Knights.
property I was talking about. But
Which
go
one are
ahead,
you
please.
talking
I was
Which
talking
one?
about the one by the racetrack, the one that
Okay.
was going to be down there in the TIF.
The one by the racetrack?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was called Knights
Oh, okay.
Landing.
How does Arlington
This is the
involve
exact
over
same one.
there in Kennedale?
Because DoubleTree is the developer who originally got it, who originally
Uh,
brought it to Kennedale. It was
I
supposed to go
remember
where
you being loud about
where
that. Okay. Thanks for refreshing my memory. I'm up to
yes, I
speed
was
now.
very loud about it.
You were very loud about it.
I was very obnoxious about it. And the reason why I was obnoxious about it is because of the bait and switch. They wanted straight zoning. We weren't going to do straight zoning because we've already been burned so many times on straight zoning. So we wanted a PD and they wouldn't do it. And this is why they wouldn't do it, because they know it was going to be another bait and switch. And I'm not for that. They were going to say it's going to be homes. Yeah, they're going to be homes, 3-story and about, a massive complex. We're not doing that no more. So when we go to look at this moratorium that we did pass, the reason why we did that is because the west side and south sides of the city cannot handle the more stress. We just can't. I mean, if you those pipes have been in the ground for so long, they're cracking, they're breaking. We need new pipes. This is the only way that we were going to be able to do it. And at the same time, look at our UDC, look at our comprehensive plan, look at everything. So to see which direction we were wanting to go. We're not wanting to shut developers out. We're not wanting to shut developers saying, no, we don't want your, business. We need to fix our own infrastructure first. We need to get our own house in order first before we can say, okay, now it's time for you to come get your house in order. We want to do that. We want to be partners with them. We don't want to sit here and tell them what to do, because that's not my business. My business is not to run their business. My business is to make sure that the city is, number one, protected, and that, number two, the citizens have the last say so. They are the ones who ultimately will be here for a long time, and they're the ones who have to live with this. We have to live with this. And I'm not about to let our citizens in this city live with something that they don't want. So if we have to put a level of control, I guess you would say, in there in our UDC and say, hey guys, this is the way we want it built to see if you're, serious. And they say, well, if we don't want to do it that way, well then okay, we don't want your business. We want developers who are serious. We want developers who are going to build what they say they're going to build and how they're going to build it. We don't want subpar materials, even though we can't control that anymore, thanks to, I think it was House Bill 2940 that was passed in 2019. We can't tell you what to build it with anymore. So with that being said, I don't think we want to control them. However, we do want it, what is promised, and we want our citizens to be proud of what they get.
I think that's a good segue to your next question. So I'll move on to that one because it kind of backs up what you were just talking about at the end, which is your question to me is, what is more important, acting in response to the will of people or acting the way the city officials believe is best course of action? I thought that was a great question, by the way, when you sent that to me yesterday. And to me, it's very simple, right? We're in a representative democracy. And so, it's not a democracy. If it's going to be the will of the people, then we would vote on everything, but we don't. We get people who are representative that we think are the best fit to do the job, and these people have to do the job no matter what the citizens said, because you're never going to please everybody. You're always going to get a naysayer from either side or the other, and our town is split right down the middle. Look at the mayor's election last year. 51%, 49%.
Yeah.
51% don't want growth, 49% want the growth. That was very clear last year, where we're split down the middle by 43 votes, I believe. And so you'll never please everybody. And so you have to do the right thing no matter what. Now, and that kind of goes back to your moratorium. You guys feel like you do the right thing for the infrastructure. For me, it sent the wrong message out there, ripple effect. We should have been like, you know what? This is high priority. Let's do a CO bond and get to this right away. And we can help pay for it with the impact fees as development goes on around it. And so that's a hard decision to make. And understand that it's not going to be very favorable. But all I've seen for the last 3 years of this council is try to do things for a small voice of the citizens, and not necessarily the larger voice or the property owners, in the case such as Magnolia Hills, the second phase of that. The interest is still the freedom of the property owners and the business to do what they want back there, not the small amount of citizens who want the grass. And I understand that. But the one thing I did with my house is to ensure that my backyard, my green space back there, would never be developed. If it was even have a possibility, I would never have bought that. That's a cemetery plot back there. They'll never buy it. Then they'll never develop anything back there. But that was a deal breaker for me. So if it's a concern, you like the green space, just check to see if it's even possible. If for development back there, especially if you haven't, especially if you've been here for a few years and you look around, not just in Kennedale, but DFW in general, it's just something that's been going on, is less and less space. And that's been the biggest problem of our area. There's nothing we can do about that except, here are the rules for everybody to play with, and play by the rules. So in the end, for that question, to go right back around, sometimes you just got to do the best thing. That's why you represent, the people. You're never going to please everybody. But if you do something that crosses them, the people are going to make the decision and voting, and they're going to vote you out. And that's how it should be. We should never be listening totally to the people. We need to listen to the people, of course, but we can't just have knee-jerk reactions just because somebody didn't like the water guns at the water park. We took those down because one person had an issue with it. One, and it's $40,000 to replace those things. And so that's my reaction to it. You should, yeah, we told that lady, like, we understand when they break, we will replace them with something that's not a gun. That was a very good compromise, and any representative should always compromise. But just to be like, nope, take them down, brand new, 1 year old, just because one person complained. That's where I think I separate that line. Go ahead, answer your question now.
So and this is, when I ran the first time, my poster even says it on there, the voice of the citizens. And it's because, as you said earlier, this is, this is a democracy. We live in a democracy. However, this is where I differ, and with a lot of my constituents and a lot of people currently in the public space. Citizens have the last say. End of story. I don't care if you're a developer. I don't care if you're a multi-billion-dollar owner of a multi-tech company. That doesn't impress me. It really doesn't. What impresses me is someone who lives in a city for 60 plus years, and then, across the street from them, nothing's going on. Nothing's ever been thought of. Nothing's ever been taking place. But now all of a sudden, the city is saying, oh, well, we're going to put something right there, right across the street. Well, I don't want to, I've been here for 60 years. There's not really that much space. It's going to cause a lot of traffic, and it's just going to be a headache for me and my neighbors. Well, it's just not one person at that point in time. It's now maybe 5 or 10 or 15, or the people that are surrounding that area could be 50. So when I say that the will of the people are the ultimate, for me, that's the ultimate. If they say no, it's no. If one person says no, then at that point in time, I have to weigh out the benefits and What could we possibly do to help and compromise? Or do we just go with this, one person and say, no, it's not going to happen? In the case of the splash pad, I understand guns are a horrible thing. Look at what happened in Arlington a couple days ago, and Dallas just yesterday. Guns in this country are becoming rampant, and they're getting in hands that are way too much younger. So if someone has a triggering effect because of a gun, I'm going to try to keep the gun out. And to be quite honest with you, even though it is a play toy, I don't think that's something a child should be submitted to, regardless of where it is and what it does. So in that case, I would have taken it down whether it was a year old or not.
Mhm.
Guns are for adults. End of story on that. And that's my thought. That's my thought process. I'm sorry the city paid 40 grand for it. I really am. But we should have, this is a splash pad that's geared towards children. Let's not put a gun there, whether it's a water gun or not. Let's put an animal there that, shoots water out of its face or something. I don't know. But the citizens have the ultimate say so. Private land developers or developers in general, I don't feel that they have, in my opinion, I don't feel that they have the right to come into a city and say, well, this is the benefit, this is what we're going to give you, this is everything that, is going to encompass it. And then all of a sudden, just, city just goes, yeah, they don't want it, but we're going to do it anyway because it's beneficial to us. That's not how the way things should work in my view. And that's just, and like I said, that's personally my view. you know I think the will of the people will always overcome regardless of what happens. Look at the national politics that we're going through right now. It's dividing our country in half. And in why? Because you have one set of people that don't want something, and you have another set of people that do want something. And then you have someone in Congress sitting there going, well, how about we just split the country in half? Y'all live over here, we live over. That doesn't work in this economy and in the state. It just don't. I don't understand why in 2023 we just can't get along and compromise with each other, as you were saying. However, if an entire neighborhood comes to me and says, that's going there, we don't want it. We don't want it anywhere near us. Okay, you know what? Thank you for telling me this. Let me see what the proposal is. Let me see if it will work with you. Bring those two people to bring the developer and those people that don't want it together, see if they can work out a compromise. If they can't, you know what? I'm always going to err on the side of the citizen because they're the ones who ultimately pay the taxes in the city.
Mhm.
And as far as Magnolia Hills Phase 2, the impact fees on that were not going to be very large at all. I've
The
already looked at
taxes
the
were though.
paperwork.
The
And over
taxes were
20
though.
years, no, they weren't. Because over 20 years, over the course of 20 years, they had only estimated at our current tax rate $5.4 million in 20 years. $5.4 million in 20 years is not a
It's not
lot of
bad.
money. If it was maybe 15, that's the paperwork that John Scorberg gave to me personally. And that is what he said. I still have that paperwork and I can give it to you if you'd like.
I mean, I saw the
5.4
paperwork
million
from the
over 20
city
years is
when it was
not good.
first. I saw the what the city projected that the tax was going to be.
Mhm.
It was nowhere near that, but that's no here or there.
And as far
I do have a
and
follow up
as
question
far
for
as
you
one more point,
though. Go
and
ahead.
as far as private citizens and their land,
That was my question. That was my follow up question.
if they want to sell their land, they can. They could sell their land to whoever they want. It should not ever be contingent on a favorable zoning change. If that developer wants that land, they should buy it outright, and they can literally at that point put anything they want there. That is within the UDC codes. They cannot make, I don't believe in making it contingent upon a favorable zoning change. Well, if we don't get the zoning change, we're not going to buy your land. Sorry. That's stupid to me. If you really want that land, you really want to put something there, you're going to buy it, regardless of who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, so that was my follow up question to you,
Good.
which takes priority, the property owner who is a citizen, or their neighbors who's not the owner of the property.
The property owner
It's a
should be
slippery
able to go
slope.
ahead and sell the property. It is a slippery slope, but at the
Yep.
same time, like I said, A property owner should be able to sell their property to whoever they want. Doesn't matter. It's not my property. It's not my business or my property to tell him or them or her who they can sell their property to. It's not my business. However, when the developer walks in and says, the only way I'm buying your property is if I get my favorable zoning change, that's wrong. If that developer truly wanted that land, they would have bought at that point in time. And guess what? If you look at our ag district, you can build homes on ag
Yeah, you
districts.
can. You can.
So that's a cop out. Well, so John Scorberg, as far as I'm concerned, he's a shady dealer. He's a shady developer because he wanted that land that bad. He would have done it in an ag. You can build a house on ag. And you know what? If he wanted it that bad, he would have done it. And at that point in time, it's out of city control. It's out of my city's control. The only thing he can't have on ag is a homeowners association. And that's what he wants to subsidize future development for his company. I'm sorry. Boo hoo. Take your stuff and go home.
Okay. We'll move to, let's see, we're on one of mine for you. What is the issue with the parks upkeep, and what do you see the future of our parks? And just real fast, let me just put this out here for you too. You, besides Kenneth, who was on a vice chair for me on the Parks Board, if everybody doesn't know, I'm the chairman of the Parks Board. You're the only ones ever asked me about the parks and what we wanted, the plans for the baseball fields, the bond we were putting together, what the parks need. The only ones ever approached me. I've talked to Austin before about it. I've invited the mayor out just recently to come sit in the Parks Board, and I've seen you in the audience of the Parks Board too. So I just want to throw that out there. I appreciate your support in this. You've been one of the loudest voices on the council for the last 2 years to try to separate the maintenance from the city maintenance and give us our own budget so we can actually improve our parts. So I just want to throw that out there. But go ahead, answer my question.
Our parks are our crown jewel. We really don't have anything else in Kennedale to be proud of, except for our heritage and, our neighbors, our churches, and our friendships and our camaraderies. Those are all great things to be proud of, especially living in such a small city. There's nothing really else here to do. You have to go to Arlington, or you have to go to Mansfield, or you have to go, I love Forest Hill. You can go to Forest Hill and do things there too. You can go to Fort Worth and, go down the stockyards. You can go to Dallas and look at big buildings if you want. You can go to Arlington and, they have the Cowboys, they have the Rangers, the new XFL team. They have a lot of things in Arlington, Six Flags, Hurricane Harbor. We're 6.65 square miles. People want their peace. People want their quiet. Our parks are our best feature for those people. They can literally go there. They can walk the trails, even though they're not very long. They can still do it. They can go to Kennedale Mountain, which is considered Arlington. Even though for a while I've been wanting to annex that back into Kennedale because it is called Kennedale Mountain for a reason. I wish, but we can't do it anymore thanks to our wonderful Senate and Congress in Texas. But we can't do it.
You can't do it.
But it is Arlington's. But I go there sometimes. I do have MS. I do have multiple sclerosis. I can't walk around that much, but when I do go there, I would like, even though I might be on a cane, I walk those trails as slowly and as gingerly as I can to get around. I like the nature part of it. I like going out there. I like being in that scenery. That it helps me clear my mind. Our park here, I've never been to Rogers Farm. I've seen it. It's too small of a park for me.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a pocket park for that development over in Arlington. It's right there on the city border, but that we have with Arlington. But I personally, I like our parks, and I want them to be, they don't have to be ooh la la. Oh my God, it's amazing. But I'd like for them to be nicer. I'd like for them to be something that Kennedale can be proud of. Hey, let's go to Sonora Park. Oh yeah, let's go. They just got this new thing. Great. Let's go. Let's take our kids there. Let's take our grandchildren there. Let's go have a barbecue out there. Let's go sit down and enjoy the ducks, you know, or let's go play a baseball game. Let's go do something. Sonora Park and Town Center Park are our two biggest ones. We have one that was supposed to have been built. It's been sitting on Google Maps for 5 years, which is Railroad Park, which is right down the road from me.
I'll tell you about
And
it.
that would have shown the history of the railroads and their importance in Kennedale.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I want that to be built so people can know the history of Kennedale and what we're doing and where we came from. We came from the brickyards. That train track is very integral to Kennedale and why it's here.
You're right.
Because without those train tracks, those brickyards would not have happened, and Kennedale would have never have been here. It would have been Fort Worth or Arlington.
It's true.
Or Forest Hill or Mansfield or whatever. So I want our parks to be something we can be proud of. And to get them off the ground, we need an ordinance, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when the Park Dedication Fund was originally instituted, it set aside money from developers who didn't want to build a park in their neighborhood. They gave money to the city, and it's literally money just sitting there doing nothing but earning interest. And I don't even think it's doing that, to be quite honest with you.
No, it's not.
Not that much anyways.
No, it's not.
But it's just sitting there, and we have $750,000 sitting there. And for me, I tried to, as you said earlier, and as you alluded to, I did try to bring those to the fold. I did try to bring that out. I got the information from Ken back in October of 21. I tried to bring it in January 22, then again in March, then again in June, and then I've tried to bring it 4 times. This time, however, was a little different. It took 2 people to get it back on the agenda, and I was not one of them. And that's because I didn't involve organization, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure of the story of that or anything like that. Excuse the cat in the background. But yeah, it's my cat.
Silhouette.
I'm an animal lover too. Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm an animal lover.
I know.
Our parks are teeming with wildlife that people's like, "Ew, coyotes." Guess what? They were here before you were. Okay, those birds were here. We have a annual monarch butterfly migration that comes right through Kennedale every year, and we have hummingbirds. We have so many different species and types of birds that are specific to Kennedale. I mean, if it's a spider, I'm running, or a snake, I'm running, but anything else, bring it towards me. But our parks are something that we need to be proud of. We need to fix them up. We need to make sure that they're working. If they're not working, we need to figure out the money and the necessary way as to how we can get them to work. The way that we move forward is by getting an ordinance. We thought we had one at the city council meeting. Unfortunately, it was not ready, so they scrapped it. And I hope that it comes back next month and we can get it finally passed so we can start getting that done. Because as I know you've been the parks chairman for quite some time. We need to make them better. And the only way that we can do that is by someone like myself or Mr. Michaels or you or even KYA standing up, throwing their foot down, crying a hissy fit and saying, fix it. And if I have to continue to do that, I know people aren't going to be very happy with me, but at this point in time, I feel that we have to fix our best asset. Right now, that's our parks.
Absolutely. Just a little side note today, Miss Sanders found a beaver dam over there. Where they made the post of the new
a beaver?
Yeah, by Kroger. So on the Arlington side in the ISD, there's a little lake back there. So they're like, there's not a lake because that's their family plot over there. There's not a lake back there. So she talked to the lead engineer over there, and he said, "Yeah, it's a beaver dam." I was like, "Beavers, really? This far north, or this far west, actually?" And so apparently that's the little creek that goes underneath the bridge to
Yeah,
to that neighborhood over there. And so that could be some of the
yeah.
flooding issues because actually beavers are causing
That's
flooding downstream. But nobody
that's
knew because it
Knee
was so
Branch. Yeah,
thick.
that's. I'm gonna have to go over there and
Yeah,
take a
apparently
look at it
this,
now.
go call Miss Sanders after this. She'll tell you the story.
I've
But
never seen a beaver in person.
and there's nothing you can
I,
do about
I
Beaver
might
Dam.
be
She's
from
not
New
allowed to
York,
take
but
them
I've
down.
never seen a beaver in person.
All right, so to
No, they're not. It's
answer my
illegal.
question, yeah, it is illegal. To answer my question, and I appreciate. I went to the council meeting last night to make sure that I understood the council's will on it, and I appreciate that the council kicked it back down to the Parks Board where it belongs. We should be doing all the little fine details for you guys and give you options so you guys can make the best decision possible. And I
It
don't
was only
believe
right
in
to do.
I don't believe in micromanagement of your boards. That's what they're there for. And I think they're underutilized with this current council for the last few years. So I do appreciate council allowing me to speak, answer some questions, and to give me an ordinance so we can fix the water park, which is badly needed, and that is a high priority. Now, for me,
Yes.
high priority is to fix what we have. Now, I want everybody to understand we have some of the best parks around with the top rated 9-hole course at Sonora Park for frisbee golf in the state,
Yeah.
the whole state. It's one of the reasons why we actually don't want to do an 18-hole course because we are well known just for that 9. We won't be
Hmm.
so well known with an 18. And so it brings a lot of people from Tarrant County and San Antonio. I've met people out there from San Antonio and just farther away to come up here just to play that. We have a frisbee golf club of over almost 460 members that come out there and they do tournaments, and they transform it to 18
Hmm.
holes their way. But that pond
Yeah.
there is going to be a hatchery. The state's been looking at a hatchery. We actually the guy who's in charge of Parks and Wildlife of this area lives in Kennedale, so he's had a great interaction with the
Wow.
city for the last 20 years. That's why you see the pumps out there now to keep oxidized, is that he's trying to make it a hatchery. So they'll make fish here to bring to other ponds out in the area. So we're just kind of in that position. Like
Okay.
you said, the butterflies come through the Kennedale mountain. That's actually a bird
Yeah.
sanctuary that comes through too. So we kind of have this great place where we have great parks. We just need to fix what we have. And
Yeah.
because we don't have a budget, the city doesn't have a budget. It's wrapped up in the general city maintenance budget and always has been. Things just don't get done sometimes, and we can't replace certain things like the guns. We couldn't replace it. It would take an act of city council just to replace it because we don't have
It
a
would take an
budget.
act of Congress.
Exactly, exactly. So I know you've been a big proponent for segregating the budget and giving the parks budget. I know the city manager
Yes.
is as well. Daryl is as well, and I know um um the new water development director is going to be in charge of the parks. He also wants to separate all that. He's frustrated with how that's set up too. So I'm excited that's going to come on, that we'll have things to do to fix the parks. Now, as far
And
as the
also, just go. Sorry.
go ahead, I'm interruptible.
I was about to say for the first time in for the first time since River Park has actually been even talked about, it's actually been allotted $50,000 for the first time ever as its own separate line item. And that was something that I was able to do
That
for
was
it.
something you did.
Because
Yay.
I felt that, yeah, if you look at our budget, Railroad Park does have its own line item budget. And the reason why is because it does need to start getting developed. So every year going forward, when we do the budget, some type of money or some allotment of of a specific amount will continue to go into the Railroad Park budget. Once it has reached its maturity, then at that point in time, I do feel that we might be able to go ahead and start getting it built. But until then, currently right now it's at $50,000, and I do want to say that next year we're going to be allotting at least $25,000 to it.
That's great news. Now, what I was going to say is that that's actually last on my list, and I'm one of 2 people who've actually probably seen the plans for it in the city. My very first Parks Board meeting in 2011 was the presentation from BNSF and the last time they ever came, of the park that they were going to propose to build and give us a for 20-40 million dollar grant, somewhere around $20 million grant was for it. But doing the nature trails to connect Arlington and do the bike path connection, I think that's should be after maintenance, because that'll be a quick build and be cheap, and we can kind of rolling
Yeah.
snowball that, and afterwards, or while we're doing that, we should record BSFF and be like, hey, where you guys been? You guys still want to do this, and see how they feel about it as well, and bring it back to the Parks Board. But we do, as a Parks Board chair, we want to do what our future plans are, and we did the parks master plan just a few years before I joined the Parks Board, and so I wanted to see that come fruition. And one of the frustrating things of being in government is we meet once a month, so it just takes a long time to do things, and it has to be the right amount of people in office and the right amount of money going on just to get a park even built. Don't even get me started about naming a park around here. That's a big deal. So I'm excited that we have even future plans and things like that. But one thing I do want to add to the parks plan, and I've talked to several people, and I think I may even mentioned it to you, is I think we'd be a great golf cart community. So when we do things like sidewalks and we're connecting all the parks together, I think we should make sure that we give enough room for golf carts and bicycles, because electric bikes is a big thing too. And I could see electric bikes too becoming like sidecarted as well and be as big as golf carts. So I would love just to hop in a golf cart and go to Burger Box real fast and be able to do that. And I know a lot of people who are too.
That
So
would be nice. I live
yeah,
right down the road
yeah.
from it.
And we have cool things happening in our parks. Like the library is teaming up the Parks Board and KKB to do like this walk around Sonora Park where you can read. And then I've asked them to make sure that's markers for like 10th miles. So I've always wanted to do that little 10th mile markers around the circle, around the
Yeah.
pond, so people understand how far they went. And so I'm really excited that you guys are acting on this. And I'm excited to get back to the Parks Board next month and see what we can do for you guys. So that's that's Parks in a
I,
nutshell.
I'm waiting for that. Trust me.
Me too.
I'm waiting for it.
All right, last couple of questions. Let's see. That was mine to you. So, what experience? This is you to me. What experience or insight do you bring to this rate that your opponent doesn't have? Um, uh, for me, I think
It's a
the
loaded
biggest
question.
it is a
Sorry.
loaded question. For me, I mean, everybody knows how long I've served the city. Most, if you haven't, I've served since 2009, in very different capacities. Everybody knows I'm very pretty involved, Kennedale News, Rotary Club, and all that stuff. Not putting that aside, though, the benefit for the city, I think, and what this current council is lacking is just the knowledge, the knowledge of what's been going on for the last 20 years. Although I've been involved for 12 or 14, I heard the stories of what led up to that. And so when you don't have that working knowledge in not only council, because we don't, Kenneth is the only one that even has a memory. Daryl's been around enough, but not too much on the city stuff. He has a memory with the police stuff and a little bit of city. On the boards too, you have that same issue. There's a handful of us who served the city for more than 10 years now. And so, and when you don't have communication between council and your boards, which is what's going on now, then your guys are not getting the whole story. And then you guys are making decisions based on not knowing what's going on. And so I think that's what I bring is just like, I hear you guys talk about it. You're like, well, why is not this? And I'm texting you, go, this is the reason why, James. I know this. Like I think that it's important that we have that kind of knowledge on the council right now, especially with the things that you guys are approaching this year. CO bond, possible public bond election, fixing the sewers, the moratorium, all these things. It's just important that we have somebody on there that has that kind of living memory of what we were trying to do back then, how far we came, and all the adjustments on the way for the future next 20 years. Go ahead, James.
So something that you don't know is that starting with this next month in April, all of council will be emailed every board agenda so that we can keep up.
Wait,
Because that's been my biggest yelling. We
put it
don't
on
know what's
YouTube
going
too.
on. And you're right.
Put it on YouTube. It's very simple.
And
Oh,
we didn't, it would take me literally, I'd say 5 minutes to go look up an agenda, take another 5 to 10 minutes to take a look at all the minutes that would happen, and that's only after it got published, so I wouldn't know for almost a week, almost 2 weeks afterwards. So what we have started doing, and this will start next month, is that all council members will get emailed all agendas for every board going forward. And that is so that we know what's going on. And that is so that we can better assist the citizens of the city. And, we'll also be able to, be in the know of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's not going on. If you have a question, this is the board that you would go to, or this is the person that I can, give you to, or something to that effect. As far as a living memory, I've only been in Kennedale for about 10 years. However, I too have a living memory myself. My grandfather lived here for almost 50 years. My aunt and my uncle still live here, and they've been here for almost 50 years as well. My mother and my father live in Kennedale. Yeah, I lived in Arlington, which is not very far from here, but it's literally down the corner. But at the same time, I don't know all the insides and all the outsides of everything that happened over the last, 30 years. But what I do know is that from everything that I've read and from everything that I've seen and everything that other people have told me, whether they are on council or on a board or if they're just a citizen, this city has had almost 30 years of mismanagement.
Mhm.
I can't fix that in 2 years. So with the 30 years of mismanagement that did happen, or else we wouldn't be in the spot that we are, we've made some good strides. And we're trying to undo some of those mismanagement stats.
Mhm.
I can't sit here and say for absolute 100% truth that, what I think they did back then was wrong, because at the time it might have seemed right. What I can't
I
say
think that's
is
very
that,
wise of you to say that,
you
actually.
know, I can't, that they thought that, what they were doing at that time was right.
Mhm.
And I can only sit here and say, what I think we're doing right now, what I think we're doing is right. So they might have thought the same thing. This is the direction that, we want to go. And that's with every council, whether it's, every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years, doesn't matter. That's every council. Doesn't matter if you're, in Congress, doesn't matter if you're state level, doesn't matter if you're local level. You feel that what you're doing at that point in time in your heart of hearts is what the city needs. So that's what they might have thought back then. I don't know.
And
I
according to the
wasn't
laws at
here.
that time,
I
too.
don't know. Correct. And the laws have changed since
Yeah,
then too.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
over the last over the last 10 years, over the last 10 years, personally, that I've been here, I've seen mismanagement. I've seen streets that were paved in the 80s and still haven't been redone.
Mhm.
I've seen, infrastructure fail many, many, many times. And that's because of mismanagement of city funds or mismanagement of not doing it at that point in time. Or, so when I say, what can you bring that I don't have? You say it's a living memory of, things in the past. We're done with the past. Let's move forward.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm at right now. And that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
I can't fix 30 years in 2 years. And I'm going to pose the same thing to you. You can't fix 30 years in 2 years either. And anyone who can, by
I've been
God, I
trying
want
for
to meet you.
14.
Um,
It's been an uphill battle for me for the last
by
14
God, I
years. What
want
are
to
you
meet
talking
you.
about? Everybody thinks that I've been like the big supporters of the old guard,
So,
whatever that meant. I was fighting them just as much as to fight you guys because that's just, I'm going to fight what I think is right
you
just
know,
as much as you would.
this entire this
But I'll tell you here,
and this entire old guard, new guard,
I don't understand it either.
I don't.
Uh,
That's not me. That's not me. I'm myself. I'm my own person. I speak for myself. I have my own feelings. I have my own thoughts. There are some things that the people on council right now believe that
mhm,
I might not believe.
sure.
There are some things that I believe that they may not believe. So we all have different memories. We all have different ways of doing things, but the end goal is to move the city forward, and that's to make it done in an efficient, equitable manner for all
Mhm.
of our citizens and everyone involved. And that's why I'm running again.
And see, I where I would differ for you or disagree with you on some things about that is for me, putting aside before 96, whenever we had that corruption with I don't even know the whole story, but we know the story. But after that,
We know the story.
When the council back in the 2005-ish and a little bit on, we're working on how do we stop being a poor city and how do we grow this city. From that point on, there's only two decisions I've ever really disagreed with. One was the Fathom deal. I was an avid person. I'm against that and getting rid of them at no matter the cost. I don't care if it costs us $1 million in penalties. Get rid of the stupid company, and we did, which is a good thing. But at the time, it was the laws changed. This was an easy way to fix it in a community this small that had no money, right? And so they felt like it was going to do it. Just screwed us in the end. Screwed us all in the end. But what I have seen, what I think that has gone right, was that council back then, they hired a company and said, "What's wrong with us?" Right? And they said, "Well, great. Well, here's 10 things, right? And if you start checking these off, we promise you, you guys will grow." And sure enough, when we got rid of the smut on the front end, when we try to get rid of the junkyards in the city, and when we did a master plan, and we did a parks plan, and we did a budgeting plan, and we went to the citizens and asked them what they want to see in growth. As we did these things, the city grew, and we got more roads. If I don't know if you remember, there used to be this beautiful tree over off of my mind's gonna go blank. By the Arlington Park. What's that road right there?
Bowman Springs.
Bowman Springs, thank you. So Bowman Springs used to be like this really narrow 2 lane, sort of like what's over here at Kroger now. It had a beautiful tree over it. It was beautiful. And now it's a major thoroughway for our future development, which was 15 years later when they did this interstate. So everybody's been planning ahead for a long time. And so that's what we've been doing, is planning ahead. And yes, we should always check along the way. We've done public hearings over the years and said, just in case, it's now 6 years later, do you guys still want this on the master plan? And most of the people said yes. And I know we can have arguments all day with current people about that, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so we should always check, and we should always adjust, because laws change, the people change, the dynamic of the areas change on the growth. But we should always have a plan and know why we started that plan, because as you know, we change powers here all the time. And if we're not handing off that torch, then we're always starting over again. And that's where I want to make sure. That's why I'm a loud voice in the city, is to make sure that we're passing that torch. And yeah, we can color it again. We can, reform it or do 2 torches. I don't care about that part. I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of what we're doing, because it's working, in my opinion. What I see is growth. It's slower, but we're a long way, again, a good way from 10 years ago. As far as the city growth and how we handle it. So I don't believe we mismanaged it back then. I just think recently, because people don't see that, or they haven't been involved, or don't ask those questions, or had a problem with that in the first place, what we were trying to do, then that torch never got passed off. And that's where the hiccups have been coming in, even before you got elected 2 years ago. And that's where we kind of grind to the halt. So that's kind of my response to that. But we could move on to the last. Go ahead. You got a rebuttal?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Not so much of a rebuttal,
right.
more of a just a comment. Really, is I remember that tree. I really do.
I remember
I remember when Bowman Springs was a very it was a very, very small. I quit smoking 50,
I know.
16 days ago. So
keep going.
I do have a vapor. It does contain nicotine, but it does not contain any harsh chemicals. So that's what this is. Just in case people want to, read, or they see me with it and they're like, "What is that?" Well, I don't want people thinking it's something else. No, it's not from Colorado. But
it might be soon.
One thing that I
go ahead.
Here's open, because if I would be open for a couple of dispensaries here, but not that I would do anything, but hey, somebody else might.
Good taxes.
But like I was saying, I remember that tree. I remember Bowman Springs was very small, and it is now a major thoroughfare through there. There has been some development on both sides, and with that being said, I don't think the citizens, some of our older citizens, and even some of the newer ones, they moved here because they wanted to get away from the urban hustle and bustle of everything. They don't want to grow. They don't want to see Arlington or Kennedale turn into Arlington, or they would have just stayed in Arlington. But what they do want is they want, shops. They want something that is going to, allow them to be, more self-sufficient. They want a grocery store. They want all these amenities, and the only way we do that is by growing. So, in my sense, the citizens, which I will refer to them as customers because that's what they are. They're our customers, because we eventually have, the customer is always right. And as I've always said, the buck stops with them. If they say
Mhm.
no, the answer's no. So
So
it's
I would disagree with you
if
too.
they don't want.
Any old family around here that I know, and I'm even talking about the original 10 families too, are very proud about how this city has grown in just their lifetime of, 100 people or less to 10,000 people. Like they're very proud of what happens. I love to hear their stories of, whose property was what, who had the better water around here, the swimming holes and how it was in the 70s. And the vision of those original ones and the people that came after have always been growth. That's why they registered with the state in the 50s. That's why they incorporated in the 70s, and we became a city. They're always wanting to have this go to the direction it is. So I understand that there's that second kind of flow of generations for, like, let's say the last 30 years, people who do what you said, they came for small town. I came here for a small town. I only wanted to live in small towns. I lived in plenty across the United States. And I need a small town next to the big city because I'm a business owner and I need to work and I want to make money. And so I want the best of both worlds. But like you said, everybody wants shops. I want a Mexican restaurant here. I've been begging Carmen's to go talk to the town center people about that phase 7. I love Carmen's, man. They have a great. They got to check out Carmen's food truck. Go check them out, guys. But we need a Mexican restaurant. That's one
I
thing
love
everybody said.
I love Carmen's Tex-Mex. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I just can't live on Mexican food alone. I need an
Well,
Italian.
that's pizza,
I'm from New
barbecue,
York. I need something Italian.
pastas, burgers, and then Mexican food. See, all we need is a Chinese restaurant. We're good. We're set. That's the golden six.
There's a there's a restaurant, and there's a restaurant in North Richland Hills. It's called Nikki's Italian Bistro. They are amazing. I literally drive from Kennedale to North Richland Hills just so I can eat there
Oh,
at
and
least
we have a
once a month.
diner. We already have a diner here too. So we do have some options. It's better,
Good stuff.
like
Yeah,
I don't want
love
to
that.
drive to Arlington. I would rather go downtown because I know I'm going to run into somebody or somebody's going to run into me. Hey, you're Kendall Dude. It's like, it's just going to happen. So I don't necessarily like to take my money to
I
Arlington.
love going to Arlington.
All right, last question. You
I
ready?
love going there. I only go there because I have to work.
I was raised there, and I don't want to leave this city. All right, last question. This is my question to you. No.
Okay.
No, okay. My question to you.
No.
One idea you want to push
Yeah.
that betters our community. What's one thing in the next 2 years that you would like to accomplish is the question.
Taking care of our infrastructure with a budgeted capital improvements plan. Infrastructure does include streets, parks, as well as water, sewer. People want to see, their tax dollars go and spent wisely. I'd like to see the EDC and the chamber actually start working together for business strategies and to get those businesses here. Um,
Would you support
to
the
be quite
comment
honest
to
with you,
hire a
I
director?
highlighted it. I'm sorry.
Would you support the EDC and the chamber hire director for both of them? Like go in half and half, which has been proposed in the last year.
I would be in favor of someone with business savvy
Because we
to
used to
take
do that,
over
by the
that
way.
position, to take a position like that. I would be in favor of someone, because I'm on the EDC board as well. So I would like someone who knows how to gain business, who knows about 380 agreements, even though it's like corporate welfare, tax abatements, even though I hate them. To see if we can't get people in here. That would be something that I would be looking at. But I would probably be in favor of something like that, but they would have to fit the bill.
Okay. Go ahead and finish what you're saying. I'm sorry.
But getting back to your getting back to your question now, people want to see their tax dollars spent wisely. Um, Parks, streets, paved, community events, keeping our taxes down, um, taking care of our neglected infrastructure again, because it has been neglected for far too long. But the one thing that I would love to see, absolutely love to push, is a parkway revitalization project,
Yeah, you said that before.
which we talked about at the very beginning. The front of the city needs to look marvelous. We want those people to get off that highway. We want those people to come into Kennedale. We want those people to spend their tax dollars here. Um, we want those people to come in from Mansfield on the back end and spend their tax dollars here. We want those people, people say, I said something earlier in the month, or probably towards the middle of February, about southern end of the city where the sand pits are. Put something there. That would be a perfect place for something like that to go. Like an entertainment venue would be perfect down there. Number one, there's hardly any infrastructure down there, so the impact fees on that would be tremendous. Um, there's no one there's houses down there in our ETJs, which we do have 5 of them. But we need something that's gonna catch the eye of people on a highway that are, taking that long trip through Dallas Fort Worth. Hey, let's go to Arlington. Whoa, what's that? Hold on, turn around, let's go back. That's what I want. I want people to come here. I want people to see our city. And I want them to sit here and just go, this is a piece of heaven. Why are we not moved here? Why did we not see this place earlier? Why are we living on the west side of Fort Worth where there's too much going on, and not here in almost the heart of Dallas Fort Worth, where there's a lot of green? Not because not every green space needs to be developed. Let's put it that way. I'm done with that. I'll say that until the day I die. Not every green space needs to be developed, but people want to see their tax dollars spent wisely. Capital improvements programs to get the things that we want, or to get the things that we need. And not even our senior tax freeze, which is going through council right now, which we're going to be hearing about earlier or later on, could be coming up in May, whether I'm there or not, or whether you're there or not. It's coming. We will be taking a look at it. We've gotten. I hate to say that we got rid of a bunch of people who were not, I guess, pulling their own weight, but we did. I mean, when we let George Campbell go, our former city manager, a lot of people went with him. And unfortunately, those people did not like the fact that, he was gone. And so what we did was we had to fill those positions, and it took almost a year. So one thing that I would push: Parkway revitalization program, capital improvements, and fix our infrastructure, because it needs it desperately.
Sound like a politician, James.
And the thing is that I'm not.
You come a long way in 2 years. I'll tell you that one.
I am the worst politician ever. I do not have a poker face. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I agree with you on the capital gains. I think we're finally in a spot, especially post COVID, just how our property values went up. And just the average median income around here has increased. We look good on paper for development. We look good, and even though it's been a big fight for the last 5 years or 6 years or so about development, we had to develop and put more rooftops, and that's looking even better right now. And you almost got a grocery store recently. Almost. It was almost okay, right on the edge. Now,
almost.
I agree with all that with you.
It was right there. It was ATP.
I think also a high priority is and we can put it to the people and you've heard me say this before. If it's something that's our responsibility, like a road, CO bond all day. It's our responsibility. It's what we get voted for. If we need to take a loan to fix some of these roads, like around Sonora, let's say around your house, for example, in Old Town, absolutely, there should be no hesitation about this. And I don't know
why that's even an issue the last couple of years with that. And I know you've been fighting against that too. So, but new things like parks and a new fire station, a new police station. I think we should bring that to the people this year, and that's something that we worked on really hard in 2019 for 13 months. Parks Board was that bond package of what exactly we wanted to do with the parks and to bring it before the people and support. So I do think we need to do that as well. And as far as development, for me, I mean, I don't disagree about the Parkway. You're focused on Parkway, and everybody's focused on Parkway, and they have been. And to me, when I look at it, I'm pretty proud. It's doing it on its own pretty well. But for me, that south corner where the tax freeze is for development, I mean, that was a big fight in the 2014 election, I believe it was, and ever since then, it's just everybody's ignored it because it's a hot topic. But I haven't lost focus on that area, and as a businessman, I just see good potential. There's a possible like skate park that's going to be in Mansfield, right on our border, right there next to the speed track. And outdoor water park. The people who bought that property, that's what they do as a company. They did the one in Grand Prairie. They did the skate park in Grand Prairie, that big one. So that's what they do. They built that. So that could be potential like camping grounds around there as well. So if we embrace that corner with a TIF, where you can rezone it to entertainment and encourage business owners to invest in that area in buildings and things to do, like a roller rink, I think would be amazing down there, especially during race season. So we can encourage people to do that. Can't even get a mini grocery store because the development in the Mansfield unincorporated is just going to get larger in the area as Mansfield moves that way. Right now, they're still filling up their middle, but they're going up, leaping on the sides like Arlington's leaping at us too, and that's coming pretty good down there as well. So even those open country buildings down there and those open properties, eventually, you know, I don't know my lifetime or yours, but they're eventually going to go. There's no doubt about that. That's just how life is and how the business grows. So if we want things like a grocery store, I think we just need to kind of shift our focus from the north side, because Arlington beat us to the punch. We should have taken the Walmart deal. I don't know why we didn't annex that. I mean, if I was around, I would have slapped everybody who voted no against that, because that was just silly. And since then, the Kroger in that little area has been nipping at our heels too. So we on the north side are going up there for our shopping and not going south. So if we could pull people down to the Parkway, I know that's your focus, but even a little bit more farther, like things like a grocery store a little bit farther down, they'll see the stuff in the Parkway and get down the south side. When I ran last year and I knocked to Magnolia Hills and told them there's a whole city right behind you, like with parks and stuff, I had no idea, they said, because they go to Kroger. And so if we can draw that kind of crowd down there, and I'm not talking about another Kroger down there, I'm talking something like unique, like HEB or Sprouts or something like that, we can pull that whole area. It won't be too profitable for them at first, but with the potential of growth in that area, which there is potential, and then us using the tax freeze, and then making it an entertainment district, which is taxable stuff, which has always been the focus around here. Get it off a property tax and get it onto a sales tax. And so if we could do these things and start putting this together, I think we have the right city manager for that. I would say that even the current council would not disagree with me on that as a focus. I think everything's right now. And that's where my focus would be, is to try to, as a business guy, is to go down there and try to wake it up basically before we lose that tax freeze down there. That's all our questions.
To kind of give you,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's all our questions. There's something that came up.
Of...
Oh, we got a delay. That's what's going on. Go ahead. You go.
Yeah. So really quickly, I did want to go ahead and let you see this really quickly. You mentioned around the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 weeks ago, I met with the owner of Texas Raceway, Dave McMillan.
Yep.
I have a proposal.
Good. I heard there was something coming.
I'm looking at it. He hasn't brought it to council. He hasn't done anything with council yet. So I am looking at it. I'm giving it a lot of thought before I even talk about it to anybody. You're the first person that's seen this. Really.
I heard it was coming.
This is just,
I heard it was coming. I'm glad that because he was
it's literally on my desk.
He was really mad about that last year. And because he's been trying for like 12 years
and
to develop that. He's pissed. I mean, he doesn't live here. He lives up in North Dallas, but he's pissed.
Yeah, I know. It's literally on my desk right here. And
Go.
you
I would
know,
love to,
I've
I
been
would love to
looking
pick it
at
up.
it. I've been reading some of it. I've been reading at it, and he's not ready for anyone to see it yet. I do believe there were other council members who might have met with him separately as well. I don't know if they got the same thing that I got or not, but there is a proposal. I am looking at it. But before a developer will touch it, they want a sewer infrastructure look through. Another reason for the moratorium that we passed. So if there's a sewer study that needs done and get it fixed for him to sell his land and get something over there, I think the moratorium in this case was a good option because it's going to help.
Now, my
in the long run.
understanding, the contract that those property owners down there, when we tried to develop and we made the TIF a decade ago, again, living memory, it says that if the minute they start developing that property, we have to connect our sewers. Like we have to assign that check. So that's, I don't know if you were aware
That's
of that,
not
but that
the information.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
I have the contract. He included the contract in. It's not that though.
okay. So a little curveball question, but that's all our questions you have to each other. Something came up in the news the other day from Mansfield. I just wanted to run it by you. It's not a gotcha question or anything. Just an idea and your thoughts about it. Now, I used to live in Sonoya, Georgia, and you could Google it. It's right next to Peachtree City, which is a golf cart community, by the way, which is why I like golf carts. It's a small town. It was very old. You know, they had like 300-year-old wooden, you know, plantation homes, that kind of thing. Dead town. When I was growing up, there was the VCR shop was the only thing open at night. There was a flower shop, and everything else was like the old Texas furniture stores that are no longer open. But they did a couple movies there back in the day, like Dry Green Tomatoes, Pet Cemetery. That was all done in that area. A little bit of Braveheart too. But recently, in the last 10 years, they did a show around there, season 2 specifically, of the zombie show. What's that called? What's the zombie? Refresh my memory.
The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, thank you. Season 2 specifically, that's the town I grew up. Opening scene, episode 1, there's a sidewalk. I know exactly where that sidewalk is. And now this is a booming city with tourism, coffee shops. There's not all those old furniture buildings that have been redone. There's a brewery down there that has food. It blows me away. And it's still a small town, you know, it's growing, but still a small town feel. Now,
Mansfield is planning on doing.
My question to you is, Mansfield is.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
it's
for people who don't know them more, they're going to make there's going to be actually a theater place where people can do movies out Mansfield, which makes our city right next to them a potential place where they can record a show or whatever, which could bring tourism. How do you feel about that? Okay,
the south side needs to get developed first.
Yeah. Okay.
And that includes the sand pits. That includes Texas Raceway. That includes, I would. In this case, KSP, Kennedale Speed Park, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole right now. They're doing amazing work.
Yep, they're doing good.
So they're staying. But as far as I'm concerned, Texas Raceway needs to get developed. The sewer study needs to be done because the entire southern side of our city is going to explode when that does happen. So we need to get everything in place so that we can anticipate any type of growth that may or may not come our way.
Well, my question to you is, how do you feel about that kind of tourism in the city? Like if they did Walking Dead here, and because in Sonora, there's zombie actors walking around and they still have the buildings.
Dress me up.
Yeah. Okay. So you're okay with that? I'm okay with it too, just to be clear, but I just wanted to, that was my curveball question.
Dress me up and I'll walk around going, I could do that. Not a problem.
Okay. All right, James, that's all of our questions. So what I'll do is I'll close off first and I'll let you have the last say, okay? Sound good to you?
Actually, go first.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'll go first. You want to go first? Oh, yeah, let me go first. That way
you go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, James.
Yeah.
You're the incumbent. You have the last say. That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, I want to appreciate everybody at home for listening to us. I know James and I are probably the weirdest show you'll probably see all this week. But I've enjoyed talking to him. I've always enjoyed talking to you. And yes, I'm running for City Council Place 5 this season. And I think, my opponent and I, although we agree on a lot of things as the future, we just disagree on the approach about it. So, but I'm thankful for him for always being a loud voice there in the city and when he thinks it's right. And I do appreciate that in the end. But for me, I think everybody knows, and you see me run my campaign last year running for mayor. I think everybody knows who and what I stand for, which is growth and being smart about that growth. And my focus is always business. As a small business owner,
myself with several businesses now, a little entrepreneur. I just have a little different approach to how we should grow the city and how we should get businesses here. And that's what I do for a living, is actually grow other people's businesses through marketing. And so that's always been my focus city. I've been an avid person for a long time. I've volunteered many hours for the city on that one purpose, is to better this community for not just me, but for my children, and your children too. And that's, I never want to lose the small town feel, no matter what anybody says. I never want apartments, no matter what those signs said either. In the end, I just want smart development. There's a place for everything, and I do. My biggest problem with current council is the knee jerk reaction to things. To, oh, that's an idea, let's just vote for it or against it because we don't like it. For me, there's repercussions for everything. We need to look 5 years ahead. If we say no to this now, what's going to happen 5 years from now? If we say yes to this now, what's going to happen 5 years from now? And that's something that I have. That's one of my strongest point, is always seeing ahead, looking ahead, and looking at possible pitfalls in the future. But I'm always open to citizens' input. It's not that I would never represent the citizens. I just want to go in there and do the right job. I think that as a city, we need to get back on track. And I'm a fighter. So I would ask for your vote. Jeff Nevarez for Kennedale.com is the website. And if you have any questions, everybody knows how to get a hold of me. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. And I thank my opponent for being a gracious guest with me today, and a gracious running opponent. Go ahead, James. You have the last say.
Thank you. Again, thanks to Jeff and Kennedale for putting this on. As he did say, we are probably one of the two craziest people, very two outspoken people here. And that's saying something. A lot of people have seen me do a lot of outbursts. Well, not a lot of outbursts, but I have outbursted on council before, and that's because I'm passionate about the city. Jeff is for growth, as smart growth, as he's already stated. However, me personally, I want to keep that small Kennedale feel. I want to keep that, we do need to grow as a city. That is without a doubt 100% true. However, we need to sustain that growth in smart ways, and we need to have it with the citizens in mind. If you don't want it, it doesn't get built. And that's the honest truth. I always have your backs, no matter what. If you have a question, you can always reach out to me through Facebook. You can reach out to me while I'm out there grocery shopping in the store, which some of you have done. You can, reach me by any means necessary, by email. I'll take phone calls even as late as 10 p.m., which I've done in the past. I'm asking for your vote, and the reason why I'm asking for it is because I feel that you do have a decision to make. As the voter of the city, you have a choice. You can either go with myself, who I've been there for 2 years. We've done remarkable things, or you can go with Mr. Nevarez, who is also running for my place as well. He has, as he's already said, he is a business owner. I'm not. So I can dedicate my sole time to you and the citizens and running this city and helping run the city, should I say, because there are five other people that help run the city, along with over 70 people and staff, including police and fire. We've gotten rid of a crazy city manager who we didn't want anymore. We brought somebody in who the city knows, and that was Daryl Holt. The senior tax freeze is coming. We're working on your parks. Your streets are getting paved finally after 20 years of not looking at them. We're holding community events. We're taking care of the neglected infrastructure. Do you want to change the status quo now? Or do you want to go ahead and, continue the great work that we've been doing? Again, my name is James Conner. I'm asking for your vote. You can always find me on Facebook for James Conner for Kennedale City Council. My place number is 5, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, there you have it, Kennedale. We appreciate you guys sitting in through this whole thing if you got here by now on our first coffee chats back since a couple years now. It's been a couple years since we had to do that. We have one more coming up. We're gonna have a guest host for that, just to make sure that everybody showed up to have that discussion for you guys. I asked Richard from the Kennedale Observer to to host that for me on my behalf, and he has agreed to do that. So I'll get that recording out to you. It should be just after this gets published next week, by the time we're doing this recording. Again, we appreciate all you guys, and I appreciate the Rotary Club for lending us the Zoom, so we could do this and get our information out to the voters. For right now, it's May 6th is the voting date. This will be Saturday, May 6th coming up. Early voting starts the third week of April. So make sure that you go out there and talk to your elected officials. Make sure you talk to their opponents, and make sure that you're voting for the right person. I know James is very approachable if you need to get a hold of him, and so am I. So make sure that you guys do that. And if you have any questions, you can send it to us. We'll pass it along to James. We have no problem. Just send it to the Kennedale News, and our social media manager will get it over to him if you can't get a hold of him for whatever reason. But for now, we'll see you on the next coffee chat.